After agreement and initial 2-week ceasefire from labor, we assess federal government's commitment and agreement on issues on fuel price and electricity tariff. The Minister of Labor will be talking to us tonight. And the Governor of Rivers State, Nyesom Wike, has challenged the federal government on the sharing formula of allocations. We hear his standpoint. Hello everyone and welcome to the program. This is Politics Today live on Channels Television. I'm Sean Kimbaloye in Lagos. Let's begin first and foremost before we get to talk to the Minister of Labor, who is our guest tonight on the program, on what the Rivers State Governor Nyesom Wike said today. He's advocating for a review of the revenue sharing formula to favor the federating units, that's the 36 states of the federation, whom he says they bear greater burden of development than the federal government. The governor who made the statement when a team from the Revenue Mobilization, Allocation and Fiscal Commission paid him a courtesy visit at the government house in Port Harcourt, Rivers State. Also, he insisted that the Soku oil wells belong to the people of Rivers State and not Bayelsa State. Take a listen to Governor Wike.
It's good that you're taking this bold step to correcting most of the ills in the commission. So we're very grateful. And we also believe, and I also advocate, that there should be a new revenue formula that should, first of all, take more revenue out from the federal government to states, because the burden is more on the states than the federal government. There cannot be any federal government without the states. So the states should have more revenue in order to cater for the people. It's very, very key.
It's a day filled with so much of political conversation and issues of policies and governance. We have so much to talk about tonight, but we just rounded up for you in our political roundup some of your top political stories. Watch this.
It is my high expectation that this project...
President Muhammadu Buhari has directed that the newly inaugurated Itakpe-Warri Railway be extended to link with Abuja, creating a direct line between the north and the south before the end of his tenure as president. The president gave the directive while virtually commissioning the 326-kilometer Itakpe-Warri Railway and auxiliary facility yard from the conference hall of the State House in Abuja. The president has also directed that 11 stations be renamed after Nigerians who have contributed immensely to nation building. Lawmakers of the National Assembly have resumed plenary today, 2 months after their recess. The Senate President Ahmed Lawan, in his welcome address to legislators, presents a roadmap for the chamber for the next few months. He says President Buhari is expected to transmit the 2021 budget to the upper chamber next week. Therefore, government, ministries, departments and agencies will be given only the month of October to defend their budgets. He notes that the Senate will ensure speedy work on the amendment of the 1999 Constitution and Electoral Act. The Senate President also reads a letter from President Buhari seeking the consideration and passage of the Petroleum Industry Bill. Meanwhile, in the House of Representatives, the President has also written a letter seeking approval for the refund of 148 billion naira to 5 states for federal road projects executed by them. The states are Ondo, Bayelsa, Cross River, Osun and Rivers. And today, as lawmakers in the Green Chambers resumed for the first time in the history of Nigeria's federal parliament, the House of Representatives commenced sitting in an entirely digitized chamber where the proceedings of the House, including records of votes, will be taken appropriately in real time and archived for all history. A High Court sitting in Jos, the Plateau State capital, has dismissed an application for the enforcement of fundamental rights suit filed by a former Central Bank Deputy Governor, Dr. Obadiah Milafia, for lacking in merit. Dr. Melafia had asked the court to grant an order to stop the Inspector General of Police from inviting him for questioning since he is already facing the same session before the Department of State Services. The Department of State Services had invited the former CBN Deputy Governor for questioning over his comments on the security situation in the country on a radio station. And finally, the All Progressives Congress Caretaker Committee has appointed a 6-member reconciliation committee to resolve the crisis rocking the party in Ekiti State. The committee, which was inaugurated today, is to be chaired by the Governor of Kaduna State, Nasir El-Rufai. Other members of the committee include the Deputy Speaker of the House of Representatives, Honorable Ahmed Wase, former Lagos Military Administrator Buba Marwa, and former Imo State Governor, Senator Rochas Okorocha.
Thank you so much, everyone, and let's get straight into it. The federal government today secured some progress, in efforts to overturn the judgment of a UK court which ordered it to pay $10 billion in favor of Process and Industrial Development (PNID) over a failed oil deal. The latest success was recorded today as the London Commercial Court ordered the release of the $200 million guarantee put in place as security for the stay of execution granted Nigeria for the appeal filed against the judgment of Justice Christopher Porcher for the execution of the arbitral award of $10 billion. PNID had sought to increase the security to $400 million, but the court, presided over by Sir Ross Cranston, rejected the request and ordered cost of £70,000 against PNID. The Attorney General of the Federation and the Minister of Justice, Abubakar Malami, has reacted to the outcome of the court judgment. Mr. Malami says the recent judgment on the Nigeria's cases against PNID demonstrated an outcome of strong commitment and determination of the present federal government through the office of the AGF and the Minister of Justice to tackle fraud, corruption, non-compliance with the due process. On Sunday night, going through to Monday morning, the federal government and the leadership of the organized labor came to an agreement on the prices of fuel and electricity tariff. After labor said it was going to commence a nationwide strike, which meant there might be some kind of shutdown of the nation. Both parties came to a conclusion and a ceasefire for 2 weeks, so labor said that they are suspending the strike and not calling it off. Tonight, we have the Minister of Labor and Employment, Senator Chris Ngige, who joins us from our Abuja studio to talk more on the stance of the federal government, the plight of Nigerians, and what they are doing to alleviate some of the sufferings of Nigerians in the face of the new policies. Thank you so much, Honorable Minister Senator Chris Ngige, for joining us tonight on the program. Let me begin perhaps to say congratulations to you because, you led a team to have succeeded in convincing Labour to cease fire on what would have turned out to be a very drastic measure on Nigerians, because that strike will have meant a shutdown of the nation. But let's begin the conversation, Honorable Minister, by asking you, there are people who say that the outcome of that meeting on Monday morning, because it crept at about 3 a.m. for those of us who were following, that it was a knee-jerk approach to the plight of Nigerians, that if Labour had not threatened to shut down the nation by that strike, would the federal government have thought about the plight of Nigerians when you effected those policies?
Thank you, Sean. I don't think it's a knee-jerk approach. I know what knee-jerk approach means. In medicine, it's just a jerk that is instantaneous and is a reflex approach to an issue. No, you see, if you go down memory lane, you will have noticed that when Labour sounded their notes of warning, we quickly brought them to the table. And what did I do? I told them that the government will lay open their books so that you can see the state of the economy. Yes, I'm Minister of the Federal Republic, so I'm Minister of Labor and Employment. But at the same time, you as representative of Nigerian masses, especially the working class, you also need to know what's actually going on with the economy of your country. So our first meeting, I think was in September. All the government agencies in charge of government revenue, NNPC, Ministry of Petroleum, FIRS, Ministry of Finance, I'm part of CBN. All of us came and we showed them the books, especially in terms of petroleum deregulation. There's nothing anybody can do about it. Because the 2020 budget of the Federation has no money for payment of subsidy anymore. And ruling from that initiative was the fact that the regulation that they're talking about now had occurred in March. In March, just at the advent of the COVID, oil prices went down to $25 a barrel, $20 a barrel, $15 a barrel. And 80% of the price of petroleum products in Nigeria is guided by international crude prices. That was why the federal government came out from a subsidy, as rightly reflected in their budget, and allow market forces to determine prices. That was why, from 145 naira a liter of petrol, it came down first to 125, from 125 to 120. That's it.
So, Honorable Minister, if you permit me to quickly cut in quickly, as a follow-up to what you're saying, maybe you can educate Nigerians on this. So, for those who have said that this was a knee-jerk approach, and perhaps there are a lot of things that you agreed with Labour in that meeting. You said you're going to provide buses for workers. You're going to give a 10% on the issue of housing. You are going to ensure that our refineries work by the end of 2021. These are some of the things that you came out with after that meeting. So when the policies of jacking up the price, the electricity tariff, and the fuel price, this is not what came up. You said September, but the federal government wasn't thinking about this. So those who said that it was a knee-jerk approach, were they wrong in the first place?
No, they are wrong. They are wrong, Sharon. I have told you, they are wrong. They don't have all the information. They don't have all the information. Even the labor leaders themselves, give it to them. The labor unions of nowadays is not the same of Michael Imodu. These people now are full of graduates. They have research departments. They have a technical department on every issue. So when government brings out what the true position is, they don't have to controvert it for controverting sake. And when they also bring out their own position with facts and figures, government team will have to succumb and we will meet ourselves halfway. For example, in the electricity sector, they have said they did their own research and that the MITO for reflective tariff should not go up to the extent of 100%. That those in C-band, which is where you have 45% of Nigerians, that their own rate should not have gone up to what it is, 60%, 45%. They said no, that they have their own records. And that information filtering from the field shows that even places where they have a place 100% rise in tariff, some persons who are using 100,000 naira to service themselves in a month say that in 3 weeks, they have now used 200,000, 250,000. They produce evidence. I don't want to say that I have also had complaints from well-placed Nigerians and from not well-placed Nigerians on the same thing. So what is to be done is for us to put in place a technical committee where everybody will be represented. Labor is represented by 3 persons. 2 of those persons are technical persons still working in the electricity industry today as I speak. One of them is the director of research, and 3 of them are going to represent labor. We have
Honorable
the
Minister,
of State.
apologies to cut in again. Honorable Minister, Honorable, just a moment. Let's take a breather. Let's go on a short break, Honorable Minister. When we come back, there are a lot of people who have also raised issue about the timing of the government policies. But we'll also want to hear, for a lot of millions who are hearing you, average Nigerians who want explanation on hope for them after all of these policies and the buffer and the palliatives that you have for them. We'll be hearing from you much more on this matter after this break, everyone. Join us again. Welcome back, everyone, and let's get back to the conversation. We've been speaking before the break with the Minister of Labor and Employment, Senator Chris Ngige, who joins us from our Abuja studio. Let's get back to talking to him about the issues of fuel price and electricity tariff. Thank you so much, Honorable Minister, for your time tonight. Let me take you up on the issue of the timing of the policies of government. There are people also who have criticized the timing of the deregulation policy. And the electricity tariff issue also is part of it. The timing, a lot of people believe that with the COVID-19 pandemic, which has depleted the take-home pay of the average man in Nigeria, that government did not get it right.
Well, Shaun, first and foremost is for you to know that government did not inflict COVID-19 on Nigerians. It's a world pandemic. And this government has tried as much as possible to cushion the effect on Nigerians. So before even we talk about the regulation, government has done a 500 billion intervention program for COVID-19 alone. And the deregulation, the movement of price of petroleum from 145 down to 125 is a coincidental situation. It wasn't done by government. Let nobody take credit for that. It was market forces that brought it down. So these people who are criticizing should know that. If you refuse to agree on that, then you are just doing what we can call witch hunting of government policies. Government did not bring down the price from 145 to 125. Even though some people were clapping for government. It wasn't government decision. It was market forces decision. And some of us warned at that time that Nigerians should be briefed fully that is not government's doing. So I don't want those people now to continue propagating that pernicious view that government had brought something during COVID-19. No, it's coincidental that both happened at the same time. It's market forces that drove down the price of petrol. Diesel had been up 200 and something because the regulation had been stopped there long time. Kerosene is up because it's been stopped long time. This is petrol. And petrol is a byproduct of crude, just like diesel and kerosene. So this is it. Government have been magnanimous in the past to do subsidy because they have a leeway to get some money to do so. And this money they're getting impinges on the federation accounts. Because when NNPC does that, it doesn't return the full benefit to federation account for all the states to have their own share. This has resulted in some states owing salaries, some states not paying minimum wage to their workers, not to talk about the minimum wage adjustments, consequential adjustment. So let that of petroleum go its way. It has been deregulated since 17th of March.
So, Honorable Minister...
And I say, no credit to government.
Yeah, so, Honorable Minister...
It's market forces.
Yeah, so...
I'm coming, Shaun. Let me take the second leg of your question. The second leg of your question is that our government have not done anything. We have done something. We did a 500 billion COVID intervention. And part of the palliatives offered to Nigerian people is from this COVID-19 2020 intervention. For example, we have expanded to do a 1 million conditional cash transfer for the urban poor. These people were omitted in the old registry, the old register that was done. So President graciously approved. Expand this. 1 million persons. At least 5 persons in every home. So we are talking about 5 million Nigerians benefiting from it. So they are doing so. We have now asked Labour to make sure that your workers are not excluded from this. Do an inventory with the Office of Head of Service, even in the state, and we give you a direct allocation of nothing less than 50,000. It could get up to 100,000. So that these people will be paid the conditional cash transfer for the next 12 months. That is there. The minimum estimate on 50,000 will be 2.5 billion. If it's 100,000, 5 billion. This is what is there as a palliative. We are giving them buses. We have on ground about 133. More will come. The private sector have also indicated that they will contribute if government gives them some levy waiver, which government is ready to do, so that they can bring more buses in here. And those buses will be converted to autogas, because we don't want pressure to be on petroleum, or on PMS, anymore. We want to downplay the usage of petroleum, and we're now moving into autogas. The world is going to autogas. So I do not see anything deceptive or anything knee-jerk approach about this. The only thing there is that Labour saw with us, our argument was more superior. As a matter of fact, I had to conscript the Secretary to Government of the Federation to come and lead his troops. I'm supposed to be an arbiter. And he had to come for the last 2 meetings. He led the government group. And Labour saw that everything being said there in petroleum was okay.
Honorable
and the
Minister,
palliatives given to them, okay.
Senator Ngige, just if I may come in now, are you
Yeah.
aware that outside of Labour, let me quickly get your attention to the fact that most of the agreement you made with Labour captures workers who might fall within the bracket of the federal and state government, but perhaps not as much attention is paid to people who are not workers for government. Are you aware that outside of Labour, there are other forces who are saying that they were not happy with the agreement Labour had with federal government, and they are going ahead to go to the street to protest what they describe as government insensitivity with its policies?
My answer is simple. The 1 million persons we are talking about, what we consider to Labour in that is, I said, minimum of 50,000, but not more than 100,000. All workers in the Federation. And when we even talk about all workers in the Federation, we mean those on grade level 1 to maybe 6 or 7. That's what we mean. The other 900,000 are for families. And it could be upgraded as we go on, as government finances improve. So if those other people are not happy with it, and they want us to capture 200 million Nigerians in one fell swoop, they can go to the streets. Nobody is stopping anybody. Yes, some people have been in the streets demonstrating about this. And some also are in the street demonstrating for what the government have done, especially with petroleum. We've been buying, I've been buying diesel at 250, 270 for more than 2 years now. Kerosene is the same.
Minister,
So why are we now
yeah,
feeding the
so-
people with 4 cars, 5 cars, 8 cars? We are now subsidizing them. It's wrong on the Nigerian people.
Let's wrap
We
up
must
this.
stand up to speak the truth.
All right, let's wrap up this conversation. And I know that you're going to have your
Yes.
plate full, because it's not only Labour, well, it's not the Labour leadership alone that's talking about strike or protest, but ASU is another major factor. That hasn't been resolved just yet. To wrap up this conversation, just in about 30 seconds, if you may answer, the lecturers who are waiting that when should universities resume, they are not going to work because of what they have seen as injustice melted on them.
Well, the issue of ASU will soon come to an end. 2 reasons. ASU said they have developed their UNITAS and have called the federal government, represented by Finance and Accountant General Office, and their direct employers, Ministry of Education, to come for testing. They have also called me as arbiter to come and stay and watch the testing. That we are ready to do. We are trying to, after the independence celebration, the 4 ministries and agencies involved will gather together with us. So we'll look at the UNITAS. If there are shortcomings with IPs as complained, which UNITAS have corrected, what's wrong about it? It's a software system. We'll look at it. Secondly, ASU members have been collecting their money since the COVID-19 came, and I wrote a memo to Mr. President that ASU members are still Nigerians. Even the lecturers themselves are being, how do we describe it, headstrong. Their family members are there. They have children. They have wives.
All right. Honorable
They have
Minister,
relatives that they cater for with their salaries.
Yeah,
so
so
we'll be paying them. So by an upper week, we are going to arrange for this demonstration.
all right. So we need to wrap up now. Thank you so much, Honorable Minister for Labor and Employment. Thank you so much for the explanation tonight. And I wish you the very best.
Thank you, Shego. Thank you.
Thank you so much. Well, that's our conversation with the Minister of Labor and Employment, Senator Chris Ngige. Thank you, everyone, for watching. I'm Sean Okimale. Bye-bye.